Personally, I have my own chikan experience when I was still, a college student here in Japan when I visited. So it was in Tokyo, in Shibuya. And, somebody just, lifted up my skirt that was in the middle of the crossing. And then I tried to chase the guy, but it was Halloween. So I wasn't able to catch him because you know that Halloweens can be packed in Shibuya. And I wasn't wearing any costume at all. It was just a normal long skirt. But, unfortunately, I didn't know about that. But after my personal experience, I realized that it's actually very common. Or I think like maybe 1 out of 3 women have their own experience of sexual harassment or, chikan in Japan, especially in trains. And sometimes when I see stories or videos about that or hear something from my friends, they always say that, the other people around them pretend to not see it or, nobody tries to help. I think it's the Japanese mentality of, I don't want to be involved or I have to go to work or I have to go to school, so I don't want to be involved in something like this. But recently, when I'm looking at social media or when I was, browsing threads, sometimes I see content, creators who are actually, their content focuses on trying to catch these chikans in trains. And they're aggressive, like, if they see somebody do that, they will take out their camera and, take a video of the situation and then try to catch that chicken, which is, for me, they deserve to be caught and they deserve to be, brought to the police station or in the train office or something and get punished for it so that they won't do it again. Well, it's not a guarantee that they won't do it again, but at least they will feel the shame or they will be ashamed that they did it. So the probability of them doing it again might become lower. But yeah, so I hope that the number of chickens in Japan will lessen because for a woman, or especially for a young girl, it actually is very scary. Or sometimes people say like, why don't you fight back or why don't you get attention? Why don't you run? Because a person getting sexually harassed, their first reaction is shock. So they just freeze. They don't know what to do. Or like they question themselves like, why is this happening to me? Or like, somebody please help me. So, stop victim blaming and instead catch those chickens. So, but I actually prefer the normal car or like, the unisex car. But I've seen it like women only and the older persons only. Uh, old persons? But maybe it's mainly for women. I've seen it, I've ridden it, and it actually, feels more comfortable because everyone are women. Yeah, so but we also have that in the Philippines actually, but it's kind of different. So it's women, PWD or persons with disabilities, and children and old people or senior citizen area. So it's a mix of, those group. Yeah. It's a different kind of danger per se. Like for example, in the Philippines, I think there is like much less chance of encountering a chikan, but a higher chance of a pickpocket. So, higher chance of somebody trying to steal something from your bag, especially if the train is super crowded, like in a rush hour in the mornings or in the early evenings. And in Japan, maybe there's like less chance of a pickpocket, but higher chance of chikan. So it's a, different kind of danger. Maybe I just, try to avoid sitting on the priority seat. So, because I've seen some Japanese people take photos of foreigners who are sitting on the priority seat and then they post it on social media. Like, for example, oh, this foreigner is sitting on the priority seat, which is for old people and pregnant women and
Oh,
persons with disabilities. But this foreigner doesn't know about the rules. But I think that foreigner is sitting there not because they don't know the rules or not because they can't, read Japanese. There are actually English translations, but maybe because the train is empty. So sometimes if the train is empty, I think a person can actually sit down there, and if an old people or a pregnant woman comes, and that's the time that you give up your seat for them, like give the seat to them. But sometimes I'm just afraid that some Japanese people might twist, the story. So I just, even though the train is empty, especially if I'm alone, if I'm not with my Japanese husband, like I just, try to avoid sitting on the priority seat.
no, I.
But in my case, I look Japanese, so I'm kind of like in the gray area because
Mm,
I'm Asian and I mix with the people, but I'm inside me, I'm still inside my head, inside my heart. I know that I'm not Japanese, I'm a foreigner, so I still try to be careful about those things. Mm. And about chikan, like I'm not young anymore, so I think chikan don't chikans don't target me. I think their targets are mostly students, young people, or women who look weak or vulnerable. I don't want to say weak, but like, vulnerable. Because so far in my, years of coming and living here in Japan, I've only had the chikan situation only once, and that was when I was a university student. But now that I'm an adult, I actually don't have any experience like that. Especially, I sometimes see articles about Butskari Otoko. So sometimes I imagine myself like, what if I see or I encounter a Butskari Otoko? Like, what will I do? Of course, I will be shocked, I will be scared. But many times I replay that scenario in my head and I will definitely fight. I will definitely fight back. Like, I will try to, catch him. But of course, real life isn't the same as imagination. So maybe I will freeze. Maybe I will be scared and don't do anything at all. But so far, I haven't experienced anything like that. Probably because I'm already, in the middle age. Maybe.